Yo, so guys, welcome back to another video. This is a reaction to another Lost in the Pond one, and it is 5 ways British and American movie cinemas are very different, or theatres. And I'm pretty sure, I mean, I feel like I've seen this before and I should remember, but theatres originated from the US, right? And then it sort of came over to Europe and the UK. And then it became a thing here. I don't know when they were, like, sort of, when they first started sort of being used in the UK, or even in the US, just wherever they were started pretty much. But interesting reaction. I don't know how you can have much differences, but I'm sure we're going to see in this video. I mean, we will see. That's what this video is about. But yeah, links are in the description to my Instagram, my Twitter for those who want to follow me. Same for my Patreon if you want extra reactions of mine that get blocked on YouTube. But let's just see what he's got to say.
In Britain, I always got the sense that we perceived this American reaction to blockbuster films as quite unusual because the actors aren't actually there to receive the applause.
Oh, that was loud.
Hello, I'm Lawrence, and I'm on a quest to uncover all of the memos that Britain and America lost in the pond, and one of those memos pertains to movie theatres/cinemas. We'll get onto terminology later, but as somebody who's been frequenting cinemas since 1987, when I went to see both Superman 4: The Quest for Peace and Masters of the Universe, 2 films criminally overlooked by the Academy, I've had my fair share of experience of cinemas in both Britain and America. And while cinema complexes in both countries do have things in common, such as the smell of popcorn and human there are also some subtle and not so subtle differences. Now, cinemas of course have taken something of a hit during the COVID-19 pandemic, but in the event that reports of
cinemas now, like, the films will be released the day after they're out of cinemas, which is crazy to me. I don't know how it used to be before, but I swear it was like a few months before they would like show it on Amazon, or like you could rent it or whatever. Like, that sounds crazy. You can even do it now when the film is out in the cinemas, right? Which I guess makes a bit of sense because some people don't want to catch COVID, but still, it's just crazy. I'm pretty sure that's the case anyway.
Death are exaggerated. Here are epic ways that British and American movie theatres are very different.
Cinema
I suppose
chains?
The first difference that I noticed when it comes to cinemas was that some of the cinema chains that I was used to in Britain either don't...
View, Odeon, Cineworld, I think. Yeah, that's all I know.
Exist in the United States, or just aren't as prominent. Back home, if you're looking for a multiplex cinema, you'll want to Google one of the big 3. Cineworld, View Cinemas, and Odeon.
Yep.
In the United States, the big 3 are completely and utterly a little bit different. Those are Cinemark Theatres, Regal Cinemas, and the really big one, AMC, which happens to own Odeon in the United Kingdom. Personally, as somebody who doesn't choose his cinemas by brand name, but rather by whether they're showing the film that I want to watch, I don't really have a preference either way, but I know that humans, being humans, probably do have strong feelings on this, so let me know in the comments below. One thing I can definitely say about both British and American cinemas is that they both do pretty well about showing the other country's films. So for example, as a kid, I went to see Back to the Future 2, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Police Academy 6, while in America I and many other people went to see the likes of Philomena, The King's Speech, Bridget Jones 3, Shut Up. But there's one thing, for various reasons or another, that often gets changed: the title of the film. Down the road, I do intend to do what Americans call a deeper dive into this.
Wait, they changed the names? I mean, he's going to explain why, but for me, like, that sounds interesting. I don't know why that would be the case. Maybe it's just it's a different word in the US, right? Or in the UK. I mean, I guess that's the only reason I can sort of think of.
To whet your appetite, here's a brief list of films that were released under different names in Britain and America. 2017's Pirates of the Caribbean: Dead Men Tell No Tales was rebranded in the UK as Pirates of the Caribbean: Salazar's Revenge.
Didn't know that.
On the other hand, the 2001
Why?
British-made film The 51st State was released in the United States as Formula 51, owing to the perception that the original title would somehow be offensive to American audiences. Because in this context, the expression 51st State refers to America's perceived dominance over Britain. And, you know, from experience, that's how most Americans see our relationship, so why on earth did they change it? One that's quite personal to me, having lived in the US state of Indiana, is the film Hoosiers. But because the term Hoosiers is a demonym for people from Indiana and is little known outside outside of the United States. This feel-good sports film was renamed Best Shot in the United Kingdom.
Didn't even know this
and I
one.
only discovered recently that a film that was released when I was a kid called Bigfoot and the Hendersons was released under the slightly different name of Harry and the Hendersons
Why?
in the United States.
Is
Now,
Bigfoot
there are an
controversial in the US or something? What's going on?
boatload of different title variations, so if you would like to learn more about these, subscribe to my channel so that you get notified when I begin my deeper dive. And then, of course, there's the very important
Popcorn. We're going to have both there. Ice cream, I guess. Sweets. Yeah,
question
I don't know
of
what
cinema
ice cream is.
snacks. And for Americans visiting Britain, don't
Flavours,
worry, we
maybe?
do popcorn, hot dogs and soft drinks, although probably at a smaller size. Some cinemas will also allow alcoholic beverages. I suppose the major difference that really stood out to me was the type of candy and or sweets, as well as pre-packaged savoury snacks that you can pick up at concessions. In America, you're more likely to find Doritos than you are KP Crisps. And when it comes to chocolate snacks, both countries might do M&Ms, but Britain also rolls out the Maltesers and various...
You can get like nachos and stuff now in the UK cinemas, but I tell you what, they like the cheese that they put it with and stuff. It's not nice. For me, it ain't it, man.
Cadbury products, whereas the
I'm gonna be
US has
honest.
a line of candy that I'd never heard of before moving to the United States. So things like Milk Duds, Raisinets, Whoppers, Bunch of Crunch, and of course Reese's Pieces.
Yeah. So it's the same, it's just their sort of
Now,
versions.
one thing that separates British moviegoers from their American counterparts is the way they show their appreciation for a rousing major blockbuster. In Britain, if we love the film, we don't really do anything except sit there in silence with an
Or
upper
laugh
lip that remains
occasionally.
as stiff as the acting in the Twilight Saga. We walk out and then we talk about the film in glowing terms. In America, it can be different. I remember at the end of Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens, a film that is universally loved and isn't divisive whatsoever. Everybody in this Indianapolis cinema
Don't
just
like
stood
it.
up and
I said I don't like it though, I've not watched it. I said that's what I meant, I've not watched it. I've not watched any of the Star Wars films. But he's gonna say they applauded it. That's so weird. It's like if that was a theatre sort of performance and the people were acting live, it would make sense. But that's kind of wild.
and isn't divisive whatsoever.
Just applause
Everybody
it.
in this Indianapolis
Applaud
cinema
it.
just stood up and applauded and cheered. Like they were at a baseball game. I take that back. Nobody cheers at a baseball game. They just, talk to each other and drink beer. Now, I should clarify,
Try
this
and catch a ball
reaction
whenever
isn't
it
normal
flies to
for
them.
most movies, right? You're not going to see a whole room of people stand up and applaud the King's Speech, although I did because, Britain. You get 'em, George. But the big blockbusters with ultra-intense fan bases do tend to bring out that reaction. In Britain, I always got the sense that we perceived this American reaction to blockbuster films as quite unusual because the actors aren't actually there to receive the applause.
Yeah.
And it gets me wondering, right? At the end of my videos, do Americans clap? Don't answer that. I don't want to know either way. And we can hardly talk about the differences between British and American movie theatres without discussing the words that each country uses to navigate it. Firstly, there's the building itself. Throughout this video, you've heard me interchangeably use the words movie theatre and cinema. Cinema perhaps being the most prominent word for this in the United Kingdom. While in the United States, where cinema is used to a lesser extent, movie theatre is more common. It's worth noting in this case that theatre is famously spelled differently from how it would be in Britain, where we've retained the old French spelling. However, even though I knew this difference when moving to America, I was surprised to find that America often retains the old French spelling when referring to the type of theatre that has a stage with actors who can appreciate your
so
applause.
interesting.
Of course, Americans
How
might
it just
also simply
interchanges.
say, we went to the movies. And for me, an equivalent of this in Britain is when we say, we went to the pictures.
Never
Because,
said that.
a movie is just moving pictures. Either way, there's a pretty good reason that Brits are less likely to say the movies or movie theatre. And that's because we're less likely to use the word movie itself. Instead, we often refer to a movie as a film, or less commonly, a flick. And there are two other cinema-related words that are less commonly used these days, but were all the rage when I was a kid. The first is a word to describe a break midway through a film, in which, you head to the loo or pick up extra refreshments, ideally not at the same time. In Britain, we always called this the interval.
I've never went to the cinema and they've had an interval. Unless he just means you personally have an interval, or does he mean like the whole cinema will have like a 5-minute break where you can refill stuff or go to the toilets? I've never gone to a film, maybe because I've not seen a film long enough, where there's been an interval. So don't know. I wonder if it is just because the films that I see aren't that long.
Whereas in America, it's known as the intermission. And time was when cinema going was so popular that people would line up down the streets just to get in the building. In the north of England, a common refrain for this was, "We had to queue up around the corner." Whereas in America, it might be something like, "The line ran for 3 blocks." Contrary to popular belief, by the way, this likely didn't inform the origin of the word blockbuster, which seems to have derived from the name of an aerial bomb capable of destroying whole blocks of buildings. And, you know, maybe that gives rise to why people describe things like Superman 4: The Quest for Peace as a box office bomb. That's it for this episode. Let me know in the comments below if you...
Oh, mate, it's interesting though how there is just these random differences and all this kind of stuff. But I just want to see... how do I search it? When was the first cinema... I was going to say built, created, I guess. 1895 in Paris. Oh shit. Didn't realise that. The more you know, right? It was. Oh damn, France doing big things. Oh damn, that's kind of crazy. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this reaction. I'm down to do more of these if you want them. And I mean, yeah, cinemas, theatres, whatever it is, these are the differences. But yeah, until next time, like, subscribe, peace.